Hello children, a very happy day to all of you and welcome you all to your favorite Pradhan Sir's science class. Today we are going to discuss one of the most important topic of class 10th biology. So, my dear children, as I used to say that you must note down the important points by putting the video in pause. Well, as you all know that human body is a wonderful complex machine performing tons of functions and processes to maintain and sustain life. Explore how the body controls its movements and coordinates its actions with other parts of the body and the environment by exploring notes for class 10, chapter 7, control and coordination. All humans have a basic need to control and coordinate all the movements occurring in them. One of the most requirements of controlling all the factors of the body is a system of rapid communication. All the cells, tissues and organs do not work independently. They work together as one team. For example, during the process of ingestion, the eyes locate food, nose registers smell, hands pick up the food, mouth opens to eat it, teeth chew it, saliva masticates it. So, you can see so many parts are involved in a single task, but there has to be coordination between them. This coordination is known as control and coordination. So, my dear children, today we'll be discussing the chapter control and coordination in details. Okay, before starting this chapter, let me tell you the learning outcomes or the objectives. After completion of this chapter, you'll be able to understand that the control and coordination are the outcomes of hormones and the nervous system. Know the responses of nervous system as reflex action, voluntary action and involuntary action. Next, functionally understand that chemical coordination is found both in plants and animals. You can draw the structure of neuron, reflex arc and human brain. You can understand that the feedback mechanism regulates the action of the hormones. As you all know that movements are one of the important characteristics of living beings. All plants and animals depict different kinds of movements. They may be growth movements in plants, for example, growth of germinating seeds, enabling the seedling to come out of the soil. Non-growth movements in plants, for example, folding and drooping of leaves of touch-me-not plant such as Mimosa pudica, or non-growth movements in animals, for example, running of cat, children playing on swings, cow and buffaloes chewing the cud, etc. So all movements in living organism in fact occur in response to changes in the environment or environmental factor. So number one, the stimuli. It is nothing but the changes in the environment to which living organisms respond and react are called the stimuli. For example, the stimuli can be your heat, cold, sound, smell, taste, touch, pressure, gravity, water, etc. So living organisms respond to stimuli in the form of body movements. Then comes about the coordination. For proper response to a stimulus, many organs in the body should work together. The working together of various organs of the body of an organism in a proper manner to produce proper reaction to a stimulus is called coordination. In animals, control and coordination is done by the nervous system and endocrine system, whereas in plants, control and coordination is done by chemical substances and called plant hormones or phytohormones. For proper control and coordination, higher organisms in fact have evolved two systems, nervous system and endocrine system, that is the hormonal system. Plants do not have nervous system and hence they possess only chemical control and coordination. On the other hand, higher multicellular animals have both nervous and chemical control and coordination. In the following accounts, you will first study nervous control in animals, then coordination in plants, and finally chemical coordination through hormones in animals. Coordination in animals. In animals, control and coordination is done by the nervous system and endocrine system. The nervous system consists of the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Some unicellular organisms respond to environmental stimuli by moving towards or away from the source of stimulus. Such responses of unicellular organisms, for example amoeba, are termed as taxes. In singular we say taxis. If they move towards the source of stimulus, their response is termed as positive taxis, and if they move away from the source of stimulus, the response is termed as negative taxis. The responses of multicellular animals to stimuli, however, are not as simple, and all information from our environment is detected by the specialized tips of some nerve cells. These receptors are usually located in our sense organs such as the eyes, the inner ear, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. Receptors are the sense organs which receives the stimuli and pass the message to the brain or the spinal cord through the sensory nerves. For example, photoreceptors in the eyes to detect light, phonoreceptors in the ears to detect the sound, olfactory receptors in the nose to detect smell, gustatory receptors in the tongue to detect taste, tangoreceptors in the skin to detect touch, thermoreceptors in the skin to detect the temperature. Effectors are the muscles and glands which respond to the information from the brain and spinal cord through the motor nerves, whereas sensory nerves are the nerves which carry information from the receptors, that is the sense organs, to the brain and spinal cord. Motor nerves are the nerves which carry information from the brain and spinal cord to the effectors, that is muscles and glands. So, as we have discussed earlier, that in animals, control and coordination is done by the nervous system and endocrine system. So, let us first of all discuss about the most important topic, the human nervous system, and then we'll be discussing about the endocrine system also. So, basically, human nervous system consists of CNS, the central nervous system, and PNS, the peripheral nervous system. Number one, the CNS, the central nervous system, consists of the brain and the spinal cord, whereas the PNS, the peripheral nervous system, consists of the autonomic nervous system ANS and voluntary nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system ANS consists of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. But now you can write or note the peripheral nervous system consists of the cranial nerves arising from the brain and spinal nerves arising from the spinal cord. In the first figure, you can see the examples of CNS, that is the central nervous system, that is the brain and the spinal cord, whereas in the second figure, you can see the example of PNS, that is the peripheral nervous system consisting of the nerves, those arising from the brain are called the cranial nerves, and the spinal nerves arising from the spinal cord, which is protected inside our backbone. Concluding, mainly the nerves of the peripheral nervous system are present in the periphery of our body. Well, my dear children, as we were discussing about the nervous system in animals, except sponges, all multicellular animals possess simple or complex nervous system. In all these animals, nervous system is comprised of nervous tissue having specialized cells called neurons or nerve cells to respond to stimuli and coordinate animals' activities. So, nerve cells or neurons are in fact the structural and functional units of nervous system. In higher multicellular animals, the nervous tissue consists of nerve cells or neurons, nerve fibers, bundles of nerve fibers forming nerves, packing cells, that is neuroglia, ependymal cells, and neurosecretory cells. Now we will be discussing about the most important topic of this chapter as per the examination point of view, that is the structure of neuron or nerve cell. My dear children, are you all attentively and seriously listening and noting down the important points? Be serious and be attentive, since you are going to appear for the board exam this year. Now we'll be discussing about the structure of neuron. Neuron is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. It has a special structure to receive, conduct and transmit impulses, but it varies greatly in size and shape. Neurons are in fact the largest cell present in the human body, sometimes reaching 90 to 100 centimeter. A neuron consists of three prominent parts. Number one, cell body. Next is dendrites, in singular we can say dendron, and axon. Now you can note down the points about the nerve cell or neuron. Neuron is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It has a cell body called cytone containing a nucleus and cytoplasm. It has several branched structure called dendrites. It has a long nerve fiber called axon, which is covered by a protective covering called myelin sheath. The junction between two neurons is called synapse. Messages pass through the nerve cell in the form of chemical and electrical signals called nerve impulse. The dendrites receive the information and starts a chemical reaction which produces electrical impulse which passes through the action. You can see the figure of structure of typical neuron, which starts with dendrites. In singular we say dendron. These are the parts of neuron where sensation or information is acquired. The information then travels as an electric impulse towards the cell body. They contain Nissls granules and neurofibrils. The cell body of a neuron is also called cyton or soma. It has abundant cytoplasm called neuroplasm and a relatively large spherical nucleus. It also receives nerve impulses from dendrites and transmits them to axon. The axon is covered with the protective myelin sheath having Schwann cells. In between the myelin sheath, the node of Ranvier is there. The axon ends with the axon terminal or nerve ending. Okay, then we'll be discussing about the arrangement of neurons. The neurons lie end to end in chains to transmit nerve impulses in the animal body. Each neuron receives an impulse through its dendrites and passes it to the next neuron in the chain through its axon via cell body. Then is a term synapse. What is it? The neurons are not connected. There occurs a very minute gap between terminal portions of axon of one neuron and the dendron of other neuron. This minute gap is called synapse. At the synapse, axon terminal comes in close proximity to the dendron terminal of the next neuron, as shown in the figure you can see. Nerve impulse is a self-propagated electrochemical current that travels from one neuron to another neuron for the passage of message. Now, the passage of impulse first starts from the receptor to, that is, sensory neurons present in the body receives the stimulus. The stimulus generates a message in the form of an electrochemical impulse, which then travels from the receptor, that is sensory neuron, to another neuron. So the pathway followed is first stimulus, then passes to the dendrite, then received by the cell body, passes to the axon, then to axon terminal, then passage of impulse through synapse. Okay, now you can see the figure of the transmission of messages through neurons. Here you can see the two neurons, how they are joined with each other. The message is transmitted through the synapse to the next neuron. Then the dendrites of a neuron acquires the information. The information then travels as nerve impulse from dendron to the cell body, axon, and finally to dendron of other neuron through a synapse. In this way, impulse travels across the neurons only in one direction, that is, from axon to of one neuron to dendron of other neuron through a synapse. Now we'll be discussing about the types of neurons. The neurons are of three types. Number one, sensory. They are also known as receptor neurons, motor or effector neurons, and relaying or connector neurons. The sensory or receptor neurons are those often occur in sense organs and receive stimuli by their dendrites. The sensory neurons transmit impulses towards the central nervous system, that is the brain and spinal cord, through their actions. Number 2, motor or effector neurons. The dendrites of these neurons synapse with axon of sensory neurons in central nervous system. They transmit impulses from central nervous system towards effectors, that is the muscles and glands. The latter respond to stimuli. And number 3, relaying or connector neurons. These occur in the central nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord. These serve as links between sensory and motor neurons for distant transmission of nerve impulses. Okay children, now we'll be discussing one more important point about the differences between dendrites and axons. You see there. So dendrites, these are short tapering processes, whereas axons, these are long uniform processes. Number 2, about the dendrites, number of dendrites arise directly from the receiving surface of cell body, whereas axons, a single axon arises from the discharging end of a cell body. Number 3, dendrites, the ends taper and do not have knobs at the tips of branches. And number 3, axons, terminal branches of each axon enlarged to form knobs. Number 4, dendrites, these contain Nissls granules and neurofibrils, whereas axons, they do not possess Nissls granules. However, neurofibrils are present. Number 5, about the dendrites, these acquires sensation and send nerve impulses to the cell body, whereas the axons, these carry nerve impulses away from the cell body. Next, we'll be discussing some of the important topics related to this chapter, that is reflex actions and reflex arc. Reflex is the word we use very commonly when we talk about some sudden action in response to something in the environment. So, we say, I jumped out of the way of this bus reflexly, or I pulled my hand back from the flame reflexly, or I was so hungry my mouth started watering reflexly. What exactly do we mean? A common idea in all such examples is that we do something without thinking about it or without feeling in control of our reaction, and that is the reflex action. So what does this reflex action says? A reflex action may be defined as a spontaneous, automatic and mechanical response to a stimulus acting on a specific receptor without the will of an animal. For example, we suddenly withdraw our hand if we suddenly touch a hot object. In this reflex action, the nerves in the skin, that is the receptor, detects the heat and passes the message through the sensory nerves to the spinal cord. Then the information passes through the motor nerves to the muscles or the effectors of hand, and we withdraw our hand. These are the two figures. Here you can see the examples of the reflex action, how the sensory neuron, they receive the messages, and the motor neuron, they takes the response or give the response to it. Then the next will be discussing about the reflex arc. The pathway of reflex action is called reflex arc. In a reflex arc, the stimulus is received by the receptors, the sense organs, and it passes through the sensory nerves to the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, the information passes through the motor nerves to the effectors, that is the muscles and glands, for the response. Here is the pathway shown to you. From stimulus, receptors that receive, the sense organs, from there the sensory nerves that receives it to the spinal cord. From spinal cord it goes to the message to the motor nerves, then to the effectors, the muscles and the glands, and there they gives the response. Now lastly, next you can see one of the example of reflex arc. You can see the figure. From the figure we can conclude that when our hand accidentally touches a hot object, the heat is sensed by thermoreceptors, you can see in the figure, present in the skin of hand. The stimulus triggers nerve impulse in the sensory or receptor neuron. It transmits the message to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, impulse is passed on to the relay, the connector neuron, which in turn passes it to the motor neuron. The motor neuron transmits the instruction to a muscle or our arm. The arm muscles contract and pulls out our hand away from the hot object. Such reflexes, which involves spinal cord, are also called spinal reflexes. So this is an example of reflex arc. Now let us conclude the first part of this chapter, control and coordination, and we'll be starting the second part of this chapter with an important topic, the brain. Before concluding, let me tell you what we have achieved through this topic till now. Number one, understood that the control and coordination are the outcome of the nervous system. Number two, knew the responses of nervous system as reflex action and reflex arc. Could draw the structure of neuron and reflex arc. So thank you. Hope you could understood each and everything. You might have enjoyed the lecture. Have a nice, wonderful and cheerful day. Thanking you all again, and we'll be meeting again with the important topic, the brain, of this chapter in the next class.